Hello, everyone. My mom is probably going to lose her job because of this administration, and my county, Crawford County, is going to be left without any hospital, along with 11 other rural counties that are severely on the brink of losing their funds to stay open, because rural hospitals, in case you don't know, rely on Medicaid to fund the hospital directly. That's how they garner their money to stay open. Their economies aren't strong enough to pay for it themselves. They need federal government programs to assist and help them to stay open, to provide the care to rural communities and citizens. And in case you don't know me, I'm a leftist, I'm a progressive, I'm a Democrat from rural Crawford County, Ohio. I supported Kamala. I'm not old enough to vote, unfortunately. My YouTube is filled to the brim with videos supporting and advocating for electing Kamala Harris last November. I was an avid supporter of her, a fervent supporter, and very much wanted her to win. And, tried to elucidate the fact that she was overqualified to be our president. And you can go watch those videos if you desire. This is heartbreaking to me. This is devastating to me because my mom has worked here since 2005, and I've never supported any Republican, but this is nothing on the likes of which I've ever seen. My community is going to be devastated without a hospital. There's 2 hospitals in my entire county. They're at risk of being stripped of their funding that is adequate for us to stay open and provide the care. And it's heart-wrenching because it's petrifying, because I think of my 95-year-old grandma and my step-cousin Tom, who are severely at risk of something happening, and they might need to get to a hospital, and minutes matter in every second. Because my grandma fell last year and she needed to get to the hospital immediately to revive and resuscitate her. And my cousin Tommy, my step-cousin Tommy, has had seizures dating back to last November 1st, and he needs to get to the hospital. And every second counts. Every second matters when situations like this. And if we don't have a hospital in our entire county, we're going to have to travel hours to get them, and they could lose their lives on the way there. And that's what people don't get. People still support this administration after all of this. This is the biggest, horrendous bill that was ever passed in American history. Every Republican that represents Ohio's districts voted for this bill that slashes Medicaid. I believe it's like $800 billion in Medicaid across the country. Unchecked, devastates and, undermines it. Completely rolls it back just to give tax cuts to the rich. And before you say, they're trying to save money, they're not trying to save money, because this bill adds $5 trillion to our national deficit within the next 10 years, because it rounds up all of these crucial expenditures for programs that people like me and people like elderly and disabled people and everybody rely on, and they need. And they don't realize how important and how necessary it is until it finally happens to them. So 2 hospitals, very, very crucial hospitals in my county, are at risk of closing, along with 11 other counties. 11 other rural hospitals across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, across 10 counties are at risk and imperiled to close potentially because of this. So I want you to remember this when these Republicans push through this bill and try to rush through this bill as fast as they can before the American people can get a glimpse of what this bill entails, which is very, very gross. It's very, very odious, and it'll do a lot of damage, irreparable damage, by the way, that we'll never get back. But again, they're not cutting Medicaid to save money and give back to the taxpayers, because taxpayers, if you make under a certain amount. I believe it's like the 80% of Americans, the lower 80%, the bottom 80% will see their taxes and their annual expenditures increase because of this big ugly bill. While the 20%, the richest 20% will see tax cuts. So you won't see any tax cuts from this bill, like Donald Trump is trying to manipulate and gaslight you into believing, unless you're within the richest, wealthiest 20% and a part of big corporations, or you're a rich CEO who is already immeasurably, astronomically, and defensively rich already. They don't need this. They don't need tax cuts. Republicans know that they can get away with this and still have the backing of the staunch backing of their supporters wholeheartedly, their unwavering support, because my hospital could potentially close, and I guarantee all of these Republican counties affected will still vote Republican. They will still vote Republican nonetheless, whether they hold their nose or whatever, because it doesn't matter. Nothing they do matters. Donald Trump is hurting farmers. He's hurting farmers with the tariffs. Literally, people in my community are being distraught by these tariffs. They're things that they buy and import from other countries. Fertilizer is so expensive, and it's hard to sell things for farmers. People are losing their jobs. They're losing their family tradition and their family routine that they've had all throughout their family's dynasty. They're losing it because of Donald Trump. Rural communities, and these are the people who supported him the most, that are going to be hurt. And I'm stuck in the middle of it. I'm the middleman. I'm a Democrat. I'm a progressive. I don't belong here in Crawford County. I don't belong here because I advocate so hard and so much in a steadfast manner, and people just ignore me. People just disregard what I say. They say I'm a radical leftist lunatic. I only get my sources from leftist. Well, I didn't know ChatGPT was a radical left source, because it's not. It pulls and retails sources from all different sides, from all different aspects, from all different perspectives, and gathers them and accumulates them and expresses them in the most impartial manner imaginable. I don't even know what to say. It's harrowing to think of my future. It's harrowing to think that my mom could lose her job that she's had for 20 years as a healthcare worker. Healthcare workers are being affected by this. And I hate to say this, but her co-workers who voted for Donald Trump, because I know many of them voted for Donald Trump. I live in a county that's 75% voted for Trump in the last election, and it's a diehard Republican county, Crawford County is. They voted for Trump. A lot of the people that she works with voted for Trump. Fortunately, she did not vote for Trump. She voted for Kamala Harris. She voted for Trump the first 2 times, but thank God she voted for Kamala this time, because she would have been complicit in this. But she's not complicit in this. She had no say in this. She didn't want this, and this wouldn't have happened. This big ugly bill would not have passed if Kamala Harris was in the Resolute desk in Oval Office right now. And that's the part that gets me so hot-headed, and so discombobulated, is how people can think that, Kamala Harris would be worse, when people are literally going to suffer from this. They're going to have agonizing pain, and they could potentially lose their family members because of this. And some people will say, that's what God wants. That's what God wants. God does not want, and I will say this, God does not want people, the rich, to take away from the poor. He said that in the Bible. That's what it was. Jesus himself specifically denounced and condemned, and I'm a Christian. I read Bible verses. I read prospects that were mentioned by Jesus Christ himself, who I believe is my Savior. And he actually publicly reprimanded the notion that the rich take from the poor to enrich themselves. He publicly criticized that. And we're seeing that happen right now. Rural communities, again, are going to be devastated by this loss. My mom, again, she's probably going to lose her job. I can't even formulate the words that I'm trying to express. But I will say a couple other things. I think it was I don't know who this is. His name is Jerome Morasco. I believe he is the CEO or something. I'm going to look him up. He is some sort of administrative staff of my town. And keep in mind, this is a very grossly huge Republican town that voted for Donald Trump by record-shattering margins. He says, Avita staff, this is an email my mom received. He quoted the article. He said, there is an opinion article put in the Columbus Dispatch, quote, these 11 rural hospitals are in Republican counties. It may close. And he said that is creating a lot of concern in our community. It listed the Bucyrus and Galion hospitals at risk, which are in my county, of closing, and was done to counter legislation proposed at the federal level that would affect Medicaid eligibility and payments to hospitals, which is they need the payments to hospitals to survive. And this is very deceiving. Now let me get to the point. Avita does not like to see cuts to healthcare programs, but they said, we do not believe what is being proposed will put our Crawford County hospitals at risk of closure. That's what they say. Avita healthcare system, which includes Bucyrus and Galion hospitals, is not financially at risk of closing. In fact, we may end up having our best years financially. And I find that very absurd and misguiding. One of our best years financially, he has the audacity to say. These Medicaid cuts don't even take place until next year. They are fully initiated and established next year. They don't even take place until next year. And the reason why Republicans strategically did that when they were trying to rush and U-haul this bill in as fast as possible promptly is because so when Democrats take back the House in 2026, which they're most likely to do because of backlash of the Trump administration, they can blame the Democrats. That's their plan. That's exactly what they're going to do. And then they're going to try to turn and twist the narrative because they know their supporters will believe it. Without looking at any evidence, they will believe it. Just straight through their mind. They'll say it, they'll believe it. Trump says it, they'll believe it. They're going to blame the Democrats for these Medicaid cuts when they take back control in 2026. That's why, again, it was premeditated for the Medicaid cuts to not take effect until after, I think it's either 2026 or 2027. I'll look that up actually. When will Trump's Medicaid cuts take effect? Yep, it won't take effect primarily beginning in 2026 and in 2027. Wow, believe that? Can you believe that? Wow, that is so diabolical. This is heinous. This is what they're doing. They're misleading people. They are gaslighting people into believing that it is not the fault of Republicans, that it is not the fault of Donald Trump, when it is unequivocally. And then they're going to try to reverse the course and reverse the tide and say, oh, well, it's Democrats because when they took office, this happened. This is so deceptive. I can't even believe this. So when something happens, if this happens, and it probably will, I've been right about almost everything that happened in this administration. I said this was going to happen back in November. People disregarded what I had to say. They thought they knew better. They didn't look at the facts. They didn't look at economists when they said Kamala Harris's proposals would be beneficial to the middle class and Donald Trump's would be detrimental for the middle class while only enriching the wealthy, the ultra wealthy, like people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and other billionaires across the country, and make it easier for them to evade taxes like Donald Trump has done himself. But this is like, it's like, you can't even defend this. It's so unjustifiable how people can sit there and, say, oh, well, the Epstein files, same thing with the Epstein files. He won't even release the Epstein files because he knows he's a predator and he's on the list seven times. He was mentioned in Jeffrey Epstein's book 14 times, phone numbers tied to Donald Trump. And people just relentlessly and mercilessly, defend the guy. They backed the guy. Can you imagine if Biden did this and how there would be so much backlash? This would be all over the place. The news stations would be rampant, and even Democrats would come out against Biden if this was the case. I swear to God they would. I would come out and say something against Biden if he did this, and I wouldn't support him if he did this, and if he was responsible for this. But Biden cared. That's a baseline. Biden had good intentions. He had wholehearted intentions. Yes, he may be old. Yes, he may be confused at times. Yes, sometimes he might be have brain fog and be disoriented and not know what he's doing at certain times. But Biden had good intentions. Trump has ill intentions, and that is enough for me to say that Biden is unequivocally and indubitably better than Donald Trump will ever be. And same thing with Kamala Harris too. But this is the fact that 17 million people are going to lose their health care, and this isn't hypothetical either. I can't even express this. But let me read my Threads post to you. This is what I said. I said, I know for a fact that I'm going into politics now. I have no other choice. This is what I said. My mom is probably going to lose her job because of this callous, reprehensible, and unusually evil administration. I am a progressive stuck in a Trump-worshipping county, which is the truth, and I got her to vote for Kamala. I said 11 counties, including my home county, and their hospitals are at risk of shuttering entirely because of Trump and the GOP's irresponsible and reckless cuts made to Medicaid and other crucial programs that rural communities heavily rely on. Again, they depend on the federal government's constant support and constant aid to stay open. Again, we do not have the money for these hospitals to stay open. Our economy's not big enough. We don't have a big enough infrastructure. We don't have enough people to contribute to the economy through taxes and everything else. We're stuck in a corner. We're pigeonholed. But if people would have just listened to me and fucking voted for Kamala Harris, like I don't. And then I went on to say, I made like 3 follow-up ones, and I said, and just for clarity, I live in Crawford County and have advocated staunchly for electing Kamala Harris last November. Now we are seeing the devastating effects of people's actions play out in real time. They are getting exactly what they voted for, and I don't feel bad for her coworkers that foolishly and blindly voted for Donald Trump. Although I will say nobody deserves to die and to risk losing their loved ones on the way to receive the care that they need for their family to survive. So when we have an emergency and need to go to the hospital immediately, and now we can't, we should all hold this POS in office accountable. Then I went on else to say, it's so sad how people in these impacted areas are going to be potentially left without a single hospital in their county, have to see something like this happen to them directly in order for them to understand and be aware of who's responsible. And some will still defend him and act like he is not the one to blame despite all of this, when he in fact is at fault, and everyone else who voted for this big ugly bill is as well. I said, just watch more dreadful things happen every day to rural areas and everyone in the county or in the country. Then I also said, I'm thinking about my 95-year-old grandma and my disabled step cousin tonight. This was last night when I posted this. If something goes wrong and they need to go to the hospital promptly, again, like they have in the past, they could potentially die because they won't be able to make it to a hospital on time. If there isn't one in the entire country, in the entire county, those vital moments that could save someone's life, keep that in mind, please. Please have an open mind. Please be receptive to this. Please be indulgent and help me help understand what I'm going through and how people are going to be jeopardized and put in hazard's harm's way because we don't have hospitals around us. We have to travel an hour away to get to a hospital when every minute, every second counts. People in my family that I deeply love and care about could suffer because of this. It's absolutely unthinkable. I can't possibly put it and express it into words. And then I also said, you cannot support him and earn my respect. And I still stand by that. I will always stand by that. Still, you could have voted for him. If you still respect him, if you still support this man, you've lost my respect. You've just lost my respect because you're gonna listen to this happen. You're gonna see this happen firsthand to people and people's lives be destroyed. People lose their jobs because of tariffs. People see the floods in Texas because they didn't have enough FEMA funding, and they didn't have enough NOAA funding because Donald Trump slashed trillions of dollars from those crucial crucial services to help predict and forecast potential future hazards. You cannot earn my respect. And I said, you are nothing to me if you do. People are going to lose their loved ones because of this degenerate, incompetent, narcissistic creep in office. I'm frightened, and righteously so. Everything I said that would happen back in November has happened. That's true. Everything I said is happening and is playing out right now. The tariffs would increase costs. People would lose their health care. The rich would see tax cuts while everybody else suffers tremendously. And I also said, I knew this was going to play out like this, but people refused to listen to me and hear me out. They thought they knew better. I have 2 more posts that I did that I followed up. I said these 11 counties and rural counties across America heavily depend and rely on Medicaid and need its funding to keep their hospitals open because they don't have a strong and ambitious enough budget to fund them on their own. It's not fair to all the people who might lose their loved ones as a result of this. I'm just praying that I won't have to deal with the loss of someone I deeply love because they can't make it in time for treatment and get the help that they need. It's simply despicable and shameful. And then this is my last thread follow-up that I forwarded on here. I said, this is not fair or just to me or my mother. People who support this slimy, wretched administration are worthless individuals. I completely stand by that. But back to the CEO of this local county. He also went on to say he said, I just wanted to make sure as staff that you are aware of the opinion article that from Mr. Thomas Suttles, and I don't feel it has merit in regards to the claim that our Bucyrus and Galleon hospitals are at risk of financial risk of closing. We certainly don't want potential physicians, APPs, and staff from taking a job at Avita due to this misinformation, they called it. This is misinformation. This is delusive and misinformation, what this guy is saying, the president and CEO or whatever. If someone approaches you about this article, be sure to clarify that it's an opinion from one person and we don't believe Avita's Crawford County hospitals are financially risk at closing, respectfully. This is not just one opinion article. This is sources coming from all over the place. This is not opinion articles. I've seen many articles that have induced claims of this happening. And it's people who are experts, people who are professionals and calculate. They say the math isn't mathing. They literally they won't have enough money if Medicaid gets slashed. It's not possible. They cannot financially support themselves and uplift themselves without the funding for Medicaid. They just can't do it. That's how rural hospitals stay open and cross rural communities. People like to, really, they like to lambast Medicaid, say it's a handout and everything. Meanwhile, they would not have a hospital if it wasn't for Medicaid. And that's unacceptable. Why I have to go through this, why my mom has to go through this. I understand the people who voted for Trump. They deserve this. They deserve it. They need to fuck around. They wanted to fuck around, and now they get to find out. But all the people who didn't want this get sucked into the tide as well. That's not fair. That's just not fair at all. People who knew this was coming. People who understood the risks of Donald Trump becoming commander-in-chief once again. How he doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about you. He really does not care about you at all. And I'm telling this from heart to heart. Donald Trump does not care about you or your family. He only cares about himself, which is why he's taken millions of dollars from other countries to return favors for them and have bargains behind doors overtly with other countries like Israel. He's taken $230 million from Israel, even though he claims to be America first and put American values first. He's taken $230 million from Israel. I mean, let's be real. And he's doing everything he can to offer his unrestrained and unreserved support to Israel because he's greedy, because he wants money for his family. And also, let's not forget the fact that Donald Trump made like $3 billion since he took office. $3 billion. And he still wants to do everything he can to deprive people of their basic human rights. Healthcare is a human right. It's simply a human right. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. You deserve to be able to have a safety center like this in your community in order to receive the care you need immediately when something goes wrong. You should be no less than 5 minutes away from a hospital if you need care. And people are going to be left if these hospitals close. The closest hospital is in Marion. That's like 30 minutes away. Okay, and if my grandma or Tommy has a heart attack or a seizure, they're gonna die. They cannot wait 30 minutes to receive the care. Like to be extricated and to be revived and to get the treatment they need. They cannot wait 30 minutes. And then they might go to the Marion Hospital and they might have to wait more time because they have other patients there that need care before them. I don't know what to say. It's so grotesque. It's so grotesque. It's unimaginable. And people don't put the blame where it should be on Donald Trump. We've never dealt with this before. Never. This has never happened. We have the most corrupt administration in American history right now in our office. This has never happened. Bush, I didn't like Bush. I thought he was a war hawk. He is. He started senseless wars, and I completely denounce that. I'm against that at the expense of the American taxpayer. Looking for weapons of mass destruction when there was no weapons of mass destruction whatsoever. But it's nothing like this. It's nothing like this because Donald Trump is also a war hawk. He's all of it. He's everything that Bush was, but 20 times worse. He's a narcissist. He's a bigot. He's a sexual predator. He's a pedophile. He is covering up the Epstein files. He's egotistical. He's also a war hawk. He's an establishment elite, just like Bush, but way worse. Donald Trump is a part of the establishment. People don't say that. People say, oh, he's an anti-establishment. He might have been anti-establishment at first. He might have thought that he was anti-establishment at first, but he really wasn't. He was like the first president to refuse to divest from his businesses so he could continue earning money through his businesses while he was president. The very first one. That is the most pro-establishment you can possibly get. This guy is rooted in the establishment. He is the definition of establishment. He's not a populist. He is not an America First, leader like he says he is. He's an authoritarian tyrant who seeks to divide and conquer and arrest anybody, literally arrest anybody, kill anybody who gets in his way. And this isn't hyperbole. He literally threatened Rosie O'Donnell. He said he might revoke her citizenship because she publicly came out against Donald Trump. Revoke her citizenship. She is a legal citizen. Her mom was an American-born citizen. She's not even an immigrant. Like everybody's an immigrant, but she's not even like, she didn't even come from another country. She was born here. Her parents were born here, and he says that he might revoke her citizenship. This is real. This has happened today. He literally said this. He's literally threatening to get rid of Rosie O'Donnell because she publicly criticized and expressed her free speech and her free will by doing what was best, what she thought was best in her heart, and coming out and calling out this administration for the many detestable acts and the turmoil that has been caused and the great suffrage that has been perpetrated on the American people because of this administration. And he wants to deport her to another country. Like, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? This is Adolf Hitler type bullshit. And we compare him to Hitler, and you say, oh, well, you guys have horrible rhetoric. This guy's not like Hitler at all. He's literally looking out of the playbook of what Adolf Hitler did in Germany. If you know your history, you would know that Adolf Hitler denied immigrants. He said that they were the enemy within, and on the likes of that. He referred to people as vermin, humans as vermin, which means rodents, people who are not even human. Donald Trump referred to immigrants as vermin before. The guy is taking Adolf Hitler as a reference. That's what he's doing. And you can continue to live in denial. You can continue to ignore the facts, ignore the evidence, ignore the constant signs and the signals that are, insinuating and indicating a horrible future. You can continue to do that, but know that you should know the truth. You should know the truth. This guy wants to be a authoritarian, despotic dictator. He's taking notes from Putin. He's taking notes from Kim Jong-un. That's why he held a $40 million parade that cost $40 million to the American taxpayer. Because he said back in 2019, there was a clip of Donald Trump saying, "I wish my people would stand up like this for me." And talking about when he had that little political stunt with Kim Jong-un. He went over there and they set up straight and everything. There's a clip of Donald Trump saying, "I wish my people would do this. I wish they would do that to him. They would bend the knee to him." I don't even know what to say anymore. The guy's evil. The guy's immoral. The guy is sordid. He's sinful. And there's no doubt about it. He's depraved. My mom's gonna probably lose her job. My county is gonna be left without a hospital. It's like, it can't get any worse, but it's going to. It's gonna get worse. You just wait and see. We're only a year into this. We're only a year in, less than a year in, and he's already completely destroyed the country. The worst is yet to come. It really is. And we need the most progressive, like severely, excessively far left person to reverse the tide of this. We need progressive FDR style change after this tumultuous, disastrous, devastational, chaotic, and neurotic 4 years are up. We need the biggest renaissance in American history if we want to have any chance of saving our nation. And that's the facts.